do 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 do. Hey everybody, welcome to my favorite show, and probably not yours, a show we like to call 5 Minutes You Won't Get Back. I'm Brian.
I'm Heather.
And this is a show where we waste 5 minutes of your time. But just remember, the 5 minutes don't start until we say they do. Because we have control over that. Because, yeah, that's how we roll. But before we begin, we have the holidays for today. Hey, Chris, how's it going? So what are today's odd holidays?
What are today's
I'm in the
odd
shadows
holidays?
there. Anyway.
Well, today being November 13th.
Yep.
Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. Anyway, it's Actors Day.
All right, all you actors out there.
It's your day.
It is.
National Indian Pudding Day.
Now, when they're referring to Indian, are they referring to Native American or Eastern?
It just says Indian pudding is celebrated on this day. The pudding was created by colonists in the New England. There's more to read, but...
So basically, the Indians didn't come up with it.
Oh, no. And it uses cornmeal.
The colonists came up with it before they took the Indians' land.
We'll
talk about that next week.
Oh, yeah, because that's
It's
right.
Thanksgiving.
Indians.
So.
Okay.
Any others?
Yeah, it's National Mom and Dad's Day, so we get to both celebrate.
Props to all parents out there.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping it real.
Start a Rumor Day.
What is it? It's National Collins Pudding Day. Yes, Chris. Anyway, what?
No, it's Indian Pudding Day.
Indian Pudding Day.
National Indian.
But apparently the
Day.
colonists made it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was the colonists created it based off of the cornmeal
that the Indians had
introduced to the colonists.
So
Native American Indians, not...
So the colonists stole the pudding from the Indians, just like they stole the land.
And we get to celebrate another day.
That's right. So
and
they stole the pudding. They stole the pudding. I'm going to steal Louisiana, Texas. I mean, they weren't named then yet. I'm going to steal Louisiana, Texas, Illinois. Yeah, for beads or something. And they took the pudding. Okay. So anyway, what's the other?
It's also World Kindness Day.
Oh, okay. So be kind. Oh, the day's almost over, so we don't have to be kind to anybody. Snap.
I think we should start this earlier.
We should.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's what I got.
So, all right, we're going to start the 5 minutes now that we've wasted 8 more minutes. Okay. And the 5 minutes starts now. Nothing big to talk about this week. Actually, it might be a little more serious this week. I just want to give mad props to the man who passed away yesterday. And of course, that man is Stan Lee. And for those of you that know me, know I'm a huge comic book fan. As I've gotten older, I've not been able to keep up with comics as much because, dang, they're expensive. But...
And there's a lot of them.
But I wouldn't be where I don't think I would be where I am creatively, artistically, and all that junk without Stan the man around. So, yeah, huge comic book fan. You were never you didn't read.
When I was younger, I didn't read a lot of comics. Yeah. I don't think they were really proposed as an option for me.
Yeah,
so.
I was just gonna get nostalgic and share like a few snippets of comic book stories for me. First one was kind of funny. Like, I'd collect comics and I'd have them in my bedroom all the time. And I'd have them in my closet. And my mom, when I was young, she'd get mad at me and she'd send me to my room. And I'd be like, I spent all the time in my room reading comics. I mean, she never specified what I couldn't do in my room. She just sent me to my room. And I tried my hardest not to smile because I didn't want to give it away. But I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to my room? Okay, Mom, gee, I feel horrible. Walk in my room, open up my closet, and I'd have like 500 comic books, and I just start reading. So the punishment really didn't work. And Mom, if you ever see this, I'm sorry. Punishment didn't work. Second little story about comics was, like in high school, I'd always bring comics to school. And I remember it was the Punisher series. It was a 4-issue limited series. Wow. Memory serves me right there. I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I know which comic books I was reading in computer class. Anyways, I was reading a comic in the middle of class, and my teacher, who shall remain anonymous since I'm friends with him on Facebook, he might not remember this. But anyway, I was reading the comic, and my teacher just looked at me, pointed his finger, and said, "Come here," and he confiscated my comic. Well, at the end of class, I went up to him and said, "Hey, can I have my comic back? And he goes, well, I'll give you this comic back when you bring the next one in. Because he was reading it during class, and he just wanted... So for the rest of the school year, I'd have to trade comics with him.
That's awesome.
So yeah, what do you got to say, Chris? I'm sorry, I can't read today. I remember my mom taking the fuse out of the TV. Oh, okay. Well, anyways, that's a punishment that works. That didn't happen with me. But anyways,
she took the fuse out of the TV.
So
I don't think she ever did that to me.
So anyways, so in my computer class,
and she watches these, by the way.
I didn't get my comics back until the end of the year because every month my teacher had a free subscription. He'd read a comic. For me to get it back, I'd have to give him the next one and the next one, and it was horrible.
It was a good deal for him.
I know, right? So yeah, and just one more sentimental prop. My main comic story, and this isn't funny at all, but I was remember with my grandfather, God rest his soul, that every Sunday when I stay with my grandparents over the weekend all the time, on Sundays we go to church, go to lunch, and then we'd always go to the drugstore, and he'd let me pick out like 5 or 6 comics. Hey, Doug! He let me pick out 5 or 6 comics, and it's weird because my grandfather never checked on what I was reading, and I'd buy those like horror EC comics or Tales from the Crypt comics, whatever they're called. There were a bunch of different ones, Unexpected, Witching Hour, all those, and I'd buy those, and my grandfather never double-checked me, because, yeah, after church, I'd go read some comic books about witches and demons. You gotta balance that out, right? Yeah, why not? Whatever. Sing in the church choir, read about killer bunnies, killing kids. It's all good. So, yeah.
But you turned out okay.
I turned out okay, yeah. And since we're talking about this week, one more thing. And I know I've bored you guys to death. Probably my favorite comic book of all time, favorite series, because those of you who know me know Spider-Man is my number one. I know that's cliche, but when I was younger, Spider-Man was the first character I connected with because I read Spider-Man as a kid, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was a geek. That's a surprise, right? And I realized that I could be him. And he's got problems just like me. Well, not exactly like me, but close. So yeah. So anyways, favorite Spider-Man character, of course, and my favorite Spider-Man story is The Last Hunt, featuring the villain Kraven. For those of you that know that, great. For those of you who don't, I'm not going to go into the story, but if you ever had a chance to check it out, I read that, and I felt it was almost like Shakespearean comic bookish. It was great. I read that Kraven's Last Hunt, I read that, and I was like, wow, comic books can be super emotional and intelligent and written really, really well. So
that was one of the things I was reading about Stan Lee, is about how he used heroes that struggled with normal everyday problems and issues, and like the same kind of issues that just normal everyday people struggle with.
So did you read any comics when you were younger?
I don't think I didn't. I read a lot of books, but I didn't read a lot of comics.
Okay.
I've read more comics like as I've gotten older.
Oh, and one more comic book story, and then we're done. I'm sorry, guys. I was just sharing nostalgia because I actually cried a little bit when Stan died. I don't normally share that with people, but I actually got a little emotional. But if you grew up with Silly Putty, and you take the putty and you put it on the comic book page, and it would you peel it off and it would have the image on the Silly Putty. I do that all the time. This would be a cool. I don't know why this was fun. I mean, it was like a really cool picture of a Spider-Man panel. I'm like, let me get the Silly Putty out. I press it down really hard, peel it off, and I'm like, oh, cool. It's the same picture. I have it right there, but it's here, and it's just as cool. And then you take it, and then you stretch it out. It's like, oh, look, I'm going to deform Spider-Man now. Oh, that cool. Roll it up, do the next panel. And I think it took some of the ink off the comic book. So I probably have $1 million comic book somewhere, and it's probably only worth $10 because I put Silly Putty all over it.
Silly Putty.
And I bet the pages.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, that's my little trip down comic book lane for Stan the Man. So, yeah. So that's it. That's all. You got anything else?
I got no.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, listening to me reflect poetically. If you have any stories about comics or anything else, or like comics you like, leave them in the comment section below. If you want to talk about how much you like Heather, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to talk about how much you hate me, leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to talk about Spider-Man, please leave it in the comment section below. And
or if you know who Kraven is.
And you know who Kraven is. Anyway, read it. Kraven, Last Hunt, read it. It's good. It's a limited series. Never mind. So, that's all we got. And, And just remember, it isn't a good day until we wasted 5 minutes of your time. We'll get that right sometime. All right, and as Stan would say, Excelsior, and we'll see you next week.